In 1919, Adolf Hitler wrote his first political document, stating that the ultimate goal of rational antisemitism must be the removal of the Jews altogether. 23 years later, a continent-wide network of extermination camps was fully operational. Looking at these 2 points, it is easy to draw a straight line between them. This is what historians call the teleological temptation, the assumption that because outcomes matched early rhetoric, the state executed a linear, pre-existing master plan. The historical record shows no such blueprint. The transition from hateful rhetoric to industrialized genocide was highly reactive, shifting continuously in response to military constraints and logistical failures. Believing in a premeditated master plan provides a false sense of order. It obscures the structural reality of how the Nazi state actually functioned to produce mass murder. By 1928, Hitler's ideological horizon was permanently set. His worldview, or Weltanschauung, rested on 3 pillars: a biological conception of racial struggle, a virulent anti-Marxism, and the quest for Lebensraum, or living space in the East. This framework defined the ultimate goals of the regime, but it contained no mechanical instructions on how to achieve them. Instead of a rigid hierarchy, the Nazi state operated as a polycracy. It was a decentralized, highly competitive system where bureaucratic jurisdictions constantly overlapped and rival departments fought for resources. At the top, Hitler practiced a remarkably hands-off management style. Rather than issuing precise written directives, he preferred to make vague prophecies and express wishes. This forced his subordinates into a system of working toward the Führer, anticipating what he wanted and competing to deliver it. This structure primed the German state for cumulative radicalization. To win the Führer's favor, ambitious bureaucrats continuously escalated policies, driving the regime toward extreme actions. When war broke out in 1939, Nazi Jewish policy did not aim at immediate systematic extermination. The strategy was territorial expulsion and decimation through calculated neglect. Planners initially attempted to deport millions of Jews and Poles into the Lublin Reservation, a marshy region in occupied Poland, where authorities expected exposure and starvation to drastically reduce the population. The operation quickly collapsed into logistical chaos and was halted. This matrix tracks time against subordinate actions. The mid-1940 Madagascar Plan proposed shipping Jews to Africa. Rademacher drafted it, but Heydrich intercepted it to assert jurisdiction. The initiative collapsed when Germany lost the Battle of Britain's required transport. By late 1940, Nazi leadership was still reacting to shifting military realities with unworkable territorial solutions. The critical pivot occurred in the summer of 1941 with the invasion of the Soviet Union, an ideological war of destruction. This immediately dissolved all previous rules of military engagement. Behind the advancing front lines, the SS deployed the Einsatzgruppen, mobile killing squads of roughly 3,000 men. This updated matrix charts the initial death tolls. While lethal, early targeting was strictly limited to perceived political threats and military-age Jewish men. The vast geographic expanse and small number of SS personnel actively prevented comprehensive extermination. The baseline of violence had escalated to mass murder, but the systematic, continent-wide goal of total biological eradication had not been triggered. In July 1941, the German military achieved massive, rapid successes in the East. This created a profound sense of victory euphoria back in Berlin, acting as a direct psychological trigger for ideological escalation. On July 16th, Hitler told his top officials that the newly conquered East must be transformed into a Garden of Eden. He issued vague but unmistakable expectations to pacify the territory through, quote, shootings and resettlements. Heinrich Himmler immediately seized on this vague signal. To outmaneuver his bureaucratic rivals, he moved to radicalize the police operations in the East. Himmler initiated a massive logistical scale-up, reassigning brigades and police battalions to flood the Eastern Front with nearly 19,000 additional personnel. With manpower secured, Himmler issued new instructions. In early August, during drives like the operation through the Pripyat marshes, the orders explicitly shifted. Units were now instructed to systematically include Jewish women and children in the massacres. This deliberate retargeting marks the exact moment selective murder mutated into genocide for Soviet Jews. It was driven entirely by subordinate ambition during a military high. Yet, while genocide was actively occurring on the Eastern Front, administrative planners in Berlin and occupied Poland were paralyzed by hesitation and confusion through September 1941. We see this friction in a September memo from SS official Rolf Heinz Heppner. He complained that planning deportations was impossible because he did not know the Führer's ultimate intention. He explicitly asked whether deportees should be maintained or if the goal was that they be, quote, totally eradicated. He stated that a basic decision was required. Even the most zealous, radicalized SS planners required total clarity and a foundational green light from Hitler before transitioning to a program of total eradication. Hitler himself was still applying the brakes. Weeks prior, he rejected requests from Reinhard Heydrich and Joseph Goebbels to begin deporting German Jews, demanding they wait until the Eastern military campaign concluded. The machinery of the final solution was fully built and primed by ambitious subordinates, but in September 1941 it sat idling, awaiting the Führer's explicit approval to cross the threshold. That threshold was crossed a month later. In early October 1941, the German army achieved massive double encirclement victories at Vyazma and Bryansk on the road to Moscow, sparking a renewed wave of military euphoria. Convinced that the Soviet Union was on the verge of total collapse, Hitler reversed his August decision. He suddenly authorized the first wave of deportations of German Jews to the east. As this timeline shows, the definitive, irreversible policy shift arrived on October 23, when the state issued a blanket prohibition on all Jewish emigration. We see the immediate effect of this ban. Heydrich refused to allow Spanish Jews to exit to Morocco, explicitly stating that they must be kept within reach for basic measures to be enacted after the war. The overarching Nazi strategy had inverted. Instead of attempting to expel populations out of Europe, the state locked the doors to eradicate them inside. With total clarity finally provided from the top, the bureaucratic reaction was immediate. In the fall of 1941, policy rapidly transitioned from firing squads to industrial killing experiments. Simultaneous lethal prototypes emerged from different jurisdictions. Heydrich developed mobile gas vans, while other officials initiated the construction of stationary extermination camps at Chelmno and Belzec. The path to these camps was highly contingent. It required an ideology fixed in 1928, the failure of territorial expulsions in 1940, and the extreme radicalization generated by the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941. The Holocaust was not the simple execution of a linear master plan drafted in a Munich beer hall in 1919. The final solution was the synthesis of an immovable ideological worldview weaponized by a polycratic bureaucracy. It was a system where ambitious men utilized the euphoria of war to continually escalate mass murder, all in the deadly pursuit of their leaders' vague prophecies.